break down the last UFC fight night yesterday.
Which was the spinning back elbow that was which was heard around the world.
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't see it. I honestly thought Reyes was going to pull the win out. Like, I knew it was going to be tough. I knew it was going to be a war.
Yeah.
I know Reyes is much more than just a left hand, which is what he was kind of like made out to be, especially after the John Jones fight. But I knew Jiří was really good.
Yeah.
I knew he was really good.
Yeah.
But the reason why I picked Reyes was, I mean, Prochazka was his second fight in the UFC, and his second fight is Dominick Reyes, who was essentially the uncrowned light heavyweight champion because a lot of people believed he beat John Jones. Although
I was
slim.
one of them. I was one of those people.
Yeah, and that's why we thought Jiří, amazing, talented fighter, but kind of unproven. Came through Ryzen, and there's nothing wrong with Ryzen.
Yeah.
However, when you move from the more Japanese circuit and you've moved into the top echelon of the MMA, is that he's a little bit unproven. Now he's proved himself. Yeah. He did get rocked by Reyes at one point. Yeah. However, and I was impressed by Reyes' chin because he took so much. He took so much damage. Prochazka took less volume than he did in his previous fight because before he was kind of like he's obviously got very good head movement, but he's trying to bait you. He's trying to bait you as much as he can. And it looked like he was doing the same thing with Reyes, but his movement was a lot better, and I think his guard was a lot better. But honestly, like, he's a very interesting character, and I like him a lot. He's actually, when they have they've got a little bit. They half know English, like their English is pretty good, but it's not perfect. So they make a lot of like mistakes, and they say some funny stuff when they don't understand what you're saying. Yeah. And he was like at the press conference, they were asking him questions, like, was it any different with crowds? And he was like, "What the fuck? What are you saying?" And they were like, people, humans. And he was like, I think he's a very interesting character, and I think that's exactly what the light heavyweight division needs.
Yeah, I think he's a very, very likable guy.
100%.
He's definitely bringing a big persona into the cage because, I don't think I remember the last time where anyone did that, that hairstyle that he did. Yeah.
I mean, there was a few theories on where it came from, but he never really spoke about it. Yeah. I just thought
no one really questioned.
Yeah, I just thought his personality and his hairstyle made him look like Boo or Kid Boo from Dragon Ball Z. So I put that up on our Instagram. I think a lot of people agreed because like he's a wild character, but he's very. Don't get me wrong, like he's very good, and he's been proving himself a little bit more now. Now that he's fought Dominick Reyes, now the next fight afterwards. I could see him fighting Alexander Rakic for sure. Just because where the Jan Blachowicz with Glover Teixeira is at, I think the next step is Alexander Rakic.
One thing that's so crazy is that how quickly he's risen. He literally has only had 2 fights within the UFC. But one thing that is so impressive about him is his record. I think he's only had 2 of his fights go to decision. I think he had 20-something.
Prior to this fight, he had a 96% finish rate.
Which is crazy, especially for a light heavyweight as well. And not that, but for a light heavyweight, he's got an insane gas tank and insane volume striker. I mean, the way that he sets up his strikes and sets up his uppercuts and his teeps, like he's definitely got that really phenomenal kickboxing background. But the issue is that the reason why I hope he doesn't get pushed too soon is because we haven't seen we haven't really seen much of his wrestling.
That was the other thing I wanted to come to is Dominick Reyes, doesn't come from a wrestling background, but took him down quite I believe it was in the first round, took him down. And Jiří didn't have too many answers other than kind of just muscle his way up. We know he's incredibly explosive, right? Mm-hmm. And we in the UFC, in other organizations like that, you might not be able to say the same thing, but in the UFC, we haven't seen him go the distance. Like we haven't seen how far that amazing gas tank in those first or 2 rounds go. So how does it go when someone is a little bit more durable at light heavyweight in the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th round? What changes about his output? Will he be doing the same game plan, being really, really explosive across 5 rounds. I'm not too sure, especially when you include how he resisted the takedowns. Reyes went for a takedown, took him down, and he didn't really have too many, he didn't really do that much at that point, and then he kind of just muscled his way out, which does work, right? It does work. However, in those later rounds, and especially with someone who comes from a wrestling background, unlike Dominick Reyes, I would question if that is going to be the same thing. We saw with Israel Adesanya, incredibly dynamic striker, but when he got taken down by Jan Blachowicz, who was a bigger, more durable man, did Izzy have as many answers as we would have hoped? No. Even though he does have the Brazilian jiu-jitsu background, being a purple belt. I hope that Jiří just continues to grow because he's very interesting to watch. I think his striking is incredibly dynamic. He's similar to a Tony Ferguson, where he's very unorthodox.
Yeah,
and he hits on the fly. He's very creative, and I think that's why he had his hairstyle. He said I catch lots of ideas. He has the cardio and he has the striking ability, and especially his reach. He has really long reach that just manages to catch people. His creativity manages to, I think that fight could have gone a different way if it'd been taken into the 4th or 5th round when it happens with Dominick Reyes, right? I thought that Jiří was starting to slow down and Dominick was starting to, even though he was absorbing a lot of punishment, Dominick Reyes is dependable that he can continue in the 3rd and the 4th and the 5th round, right? He just got caught with an amazing spinning elbow, similar to the one not a spinning elbow, but an elbow from Yair Rodriguez against the Korean Zombie. You don't see it coming. And at light heavyweight, you do not think that someone like Jiří Procházka is not going to knock you out with something like that. That spinning elbow just came from nowhere.
It just came, pretty much. It's
picture
rare
perfect
even to get a spinning elbow knockout as well these days. It's a massive risk because they don't want to expose their back But it's a good point when you got them up against the cage.
John Jones used to use it all the time when he was in the clinch and they were about to break. And a lot of people, when they break, they'll hit them with a hook or something like that. He would turn, because if they're up against the cage in the clinch, if they're going to their right or your left, you can just quite easily spin and go for either a spinning elbow or spinning back fist. Back fists are kind of a bit funny because if they do wrap around someone's head, you can quite easily hyperextend your elbow. But those spinning elbows, they're the shots that you don't see. And people walk straight into them, and that's exactly what Reyes did. Circled over to his right, or Jiří's left. Jiří turned, boom, hit him with the spinning elbow with his right hand, or his right arm.
Yeah.
Boom, lights out, and he just slumped down, and he didn't look like... I think a lot of people I was looking on Twitter, tons of people were going, damn, I hope Reyes is okay. The way he fell on his neck was not okay.
It wasn't clean.
It wasn't clean.
It wasn't clean. However, one thing we can all agree now is that he's definitely put a mark on himself